Liam had always loved quiet places. As a human botanist, he spent most of his time studying plants on different planets. This time, he was on a new alien world. Green skies, tall blue trees, and glowing plants that looked like jellyfish. His team was back at the main camp, but Liam wanted to explore deeper. He walked carefully, recording plant behavior and taking samples. It was peaceful. No loud machines, no noise, just nature. But then he heard something. A soft sound, like someone breathing quietly nearby. Liam paused. He looked around but saw nothing at first. Then, near the base of a huge tree with roots like arms, he noticed movement. Someone was hiding. "Hello," he said gently. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." Silence. He stepped closer, hands open to show he had no weapon. And then she appeared. It was a young alien woman. She stood slowly from behind the tree. Her skin was pale blue with a soft purple tint. She had short silver hair, big thoughtful eyes, and small elf-like ears that twitched slightly when she moved. She looked afraid, but not angry. Liam blinked. He had seen many alien species before, but none like her. She didn't look dangerous. In fact, she looked delicate, almost like a quiet dream. "You're beautiful," Liam said before he could stop himself. The alien woman froze. She didn't blink, didn't breathe, just stood there, completely still, as if his words had shocked her more than a weapon would. Liam tilted his head. "Did I say something wrong?" She slowly shook her head, still not speaking. Her eyes looked wide and unsure. "I'm Liam," he said softly. "I'm a botanist. I study plants. I didn't know anyone lived out here." Still, she didn't answer, but she didn't run either. Liam took a small step back, giving her space. "I'll sit down." No threat, just curious. He gently lowered himself onto a flat stone nearby. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a small scanner, pointing it at the plants, pretending to take readings. But his eyes kept drifting back to her. She stayed near the tree, half hidden behind its root, watching him like a wild animal unsure of what to do. Finally, after several minutes, she spoke. Her voice was quiet but clear. "No one has called me that before." Liam looked up. "Called you what?" She hesitated. "Beautiful." Liam smiled gently. "That's hard to believe." She looked away, as if unsure whether to be sad or angry. "Alien males don't like how I look. They say I'm weak, soft, not fit." "Well, that's their loss," Liam said kindly. "Where I come from, people would be lucky to meet someone like you." She looked at him again, this time not with fear, but with curiosity. "Why do you say that?" she asked. "Because it's true," Liam said. "You have a soft kind of beauty. Natural, gentle. It's rare." The alien woman didn't know how to respond. Her name was Zorella, but she didn't share it yet. For years, she had lived alone, away from the towns and people who made her feel unwanted. She spent her days gathering food, taking care of forest creatures, and hiding when others came close. But this human was different. He didn't stare like others did. His voice was calm. His words didn't carry judgment, just honesty. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Liam glanced at his scanner, studying the plant life. "There are species here that Earth scientists have never seen. Some glow in the dark. Some can move when touched. It's fascinating." Zorella stepped a bit closer. "You're not scared of the forest?" He laughed softly. "No, should I be?" She thought for a moment, then shook her head. "Not if the forest trusts you." Liam looked around. "Then I hope it does." For the first time, Zorella smiled, but only a little. It was soft and unsure, but it was real. "I've never met a human before," she said. "I've never met anyone like you before," Liam replied. They stayed like that for a while, not talking too much, just being there. The wind moved through the trees. Small glowing bugs danced in the air. And for the first time in a long time, Zarella didn't feel like she needed to hide. Zarella walked quietly through the forest after Liam left. Her heart was still beating fast. His words echoed in her mind. "You're beautiful." No one had ever said that to her, not once in her life. In her world, beauty was something sharp, cold, and bold. The women who were praised looked like statues. Hard eyes, tight features, and strong bone lines. Zarella didn't look like that. Her face was soft. Her body was gentle. Her movements quiet. To her people, that made her unwanted. She had been told since childhood that she was different in the wrong way. Her classmates avoided her. The males laughed at her when she passed by. Even her own family acted ashamed of how she looked. Once, when she was a teenager, she tried to dress like the others, wear strong colors, and paint her face. But it only made things worse. The others called her a pretender. So, one day, she just stopped trying. Zarella left her city and found peace in the forest. No more stares. No more words that hurt. Just the sound of wind, birds, and glowing plants that didn't care what she looked like. And now, a human had seen her. Not only seen her, but smiled at her, talked to her, and said she was beautiful. That one word had shaken everything. Liam returned to his camp that night. He couldn't stop thinking about the girl in the forest. He didn't know her name yet, but her face stayed in his mind. Her eyes were soft but deep, her voice quiet but clear. There was something special about her, something different from all the people he had met during his travels. He opened his data tablet and looked at the map. The forest area where he met her was marked as low activity zone. That made sense. She probably lived alone. The next morning, Liam packed his things again. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. He wanted to see her again. Maybe she wouldn't come. Maybe she was scared. But still, he had to try. He followed the same path through the forest. He passed the tall blue trees, crossed the bubbling stream, and reached the big tree with the arm-like roots. He waited. Minutes passed. Then, just as he started to think she might not come, he heard the softest sound behind him. She was there. Zarella stepped out from behind a tree, still unsure if she was making a mistake. But something inside her pushed her forward. "You came back," she said. Liam smiled warmly. "I hoped I'd see you again." She moved closer. Not too close, but closer than before. "I was thinking about what you said yesterday," Zarella whispered. Liam tilted his head. "About the plants." She shook her head slowly. "About me." Liam nodded gently. "I meant it." Zarella looked down. Her hands were fidgeting with the edge of her scarf. "Alien men don't think I'm beautiful. They say my features are wrong. Too soft, too small, too gentle." Liam stayed silent, listening carefully. "They say I look like a dream someone forgot. Something weak. Not worth noticing." Liam's heart hurt at those words. He couldn't imagine why anyone would say such things. She was one of the most unique and naturally lovely beings he had ever met. "Then they're blind," Liam said softly. "Where I come from, being soft isn't a weakness. It's rare. It's beautiful." Zarella looked at him, eyes filled with questions. "Why do your people think that way?" Liam shrugged slightly. "Because beauty isn't only about strength or size. It's about feeling, expression, kindness. When I looked at you, I saw something peaceful, something special." She was quiet again. A gentle breeze moved between them. Birds flew through the trees above. One landed nearby and chirped as if watching their meeting with interest. "I didn't expect this from a human," she finally said. "You're different than I imagined." "And you're not what I expected either," Liam replied. "But that's a good thing." Zarella sat down on a flat root and rested her hand on the mossy ground. "You don't think I'm lying, do you? About how I was treated?" "No," Liam said at once. "I believe you, and I think you deserve better." Something flickered in Zarella's chest, a tiny warmth. It felt new, like hope. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for saying that. No one ever has." Liam sat beside her, leaving space but showing he was there. "Maybe your people didn't know what real beauty looked like," he said with a small smile. "But I do." The next few days were different for both Liam and Zarella. Every morning, Liam walked to the same part of the forest, the spot near the old tree with wide roots, and each time Zarella was there before him. At first, they spoke very little, just short greetings and quiet smiles, but slowly their conversations grew longer, and so did their trust. Liam would often show her strange little tools from Earth, his scanner, his plant analyzer, and once, a small music device. When he played a soft tune from Earth, Zarella listened carefully, her eyes closed, and her ears twitched slightly as she focused on the sounds. "This music," she said softly, "it feels gentle." Liam nodded. "It reminds me of my home. Quiet nights, rain tapping on windows. Peace." Zarella tilted her head. "Windows." Liam laughed. "Oh, right. You don't have those here, do you? They're like clear barriers in our homes. You can see through them, but they protect you from outside." Zarella smiled lightly. "Like your words, I can see what they mean, but they feel protective too." That made Liam pause. He looked at her with a new kind of admiration. She had a way of speaking that was soft but deep. She didn't waste words. Every sentence meant something. One afternoon, Zarella brought something with her. It was a glowing blue flower with silver lines on the petals. "This is called Ilsha," she said, holding it carefully. "It only grows where the forest feels safe. If the air is angry, it stays closed." Liam took the flower gently, examining it with his scanner. "Amazing. It reacts to emotion." Zarella nodded. "The forest listens. It knows who belongs and who doesn't." He looked up at her, "And it let me stay." Zarella looked down, her cheeks turning a slightly deeper shade of purple-blue. "Yes, I think it did." That day they sat for a long time under the tree. Liam told her stories about Earth, about green fields, oceans, cities full of lights, and people who danced just for fun. Zarella listened wide-eyed. She had never imagined such things. "Do people on your planet always sing and dance like that?" she asked. "Not always," Liam said with a chuckle, "but we celebrate beauty in many ways. Music, colors, art, and sometimes just sitting quietly with someone who makes the world feel calm." Zarella looked at him, and for a moment, her usual fear wasn't there. "Just peace. I didn't know humans could be like you," she said honestly. "Kind, gentle. We're not all perfect," Liam admitted, "but I believe kindness is our greatest strength." Zarella thought for a while, then softly said, "I've never had a friend before." Liam looked surprised. "Never?" She shook her head slowly. "No one wanted to be seen with me. They thought it would make them look weak too." "That's awful," he said. "They were wrong. You're strong in your own way." Zarella gave a small, shy smile. "I feel stronger when I'm with you." The forest around them seemed to respond. Light filtered through the trees in warm shades, and the ground felt calm beneath their feet. For the first time in years, Zarella didn't feel like she had to hide who she was. But deep inside, a small worry started to grow. She liked Liam. She trusted him. But the others, her people, would not approve. They saw humans as lesser, strange, and they certainly wouldn't accept someone like Zarella choosing to be close to one. Still, she didn't want this bond to end. So she said, "Will you come back tomorrow?" Liam looked at her with a soft smile. "I'll come back every day, as long as you want me to." Zarella's heart warmed. It felt like sunlight had reached a part of her soul that had always been cold. They sat quietly for a while after that. No need for more words, just the sound of wind in the leaves and the gentle rhythm of two different beings sitting side by side. finding peace in each other's presence. For days, Liam and Zarella met under the same towering tree. Their conversations became warmer, more natural. Liam often spoke of Earth's wonders, sunrises, forests, laughter shared around a table. Zarella listened with quiet awe, picturing a world so different from her own. In return, she shared her knowledge of the forest. She showed Liam how certain flowers glowed brighter when the air was calm. She explained how the trees seemed to hum at dusk, their roots exchanging whispers. Liam could see it all through her eyes, a world alive with subtle magic, one that had always been her sanctuary. But good things rarely went unnoticed. One morning, Zarella arrived at their meeting place with tension in her movements. Her hands fidgeted with the edges of her scarf, and her usually calm expression was shadowed by worry. Liam noticed immediately. "What's wrong?" he asked. Zarella glanced around, as if expecting someone to appear. "I'm being watched," she whispered. "By who?" "Patrols from my town," she replied. "They saw me coming here. I think they know about you." Liam's brow furrowed. "And that's a problem." Zarella sighed, her voice soft but weighted. "Humans aren't respected here. They see your people as invaders, even if you come in peace. And me, I'm already an outcast. They think my connection to you makes me weaker." Liam leaned back against the tree. He had heard stories like this on other planets, cultures that misunderstood humans, treated them with suspicion or disdain. But seeing Zarella's distress made it personal. "What happens if they find me?" he asked. She looked away, then down at her hands. "I don't know," she admitted, "but I don't want to find out." Later that day, as Zarella made her way back to the forest's edge, she encountered them. The patrol consisted of 3 tall alien men, their features sharp and angular, their uniforms dark and imposing. One of them, a high-ranking officer named Rezvak, stepped forward. "Zarella," he said, his voice cold and firm, "we've seen you sneaking into the forest. Who are you meeting?" "No one," she said quickly, clutching her scarf. "I was only gathering flowers." Rezak's piercing gaze didn't waver. "Lies. We've heard the whispers. You've been seen with a human. Is it true?" She hesitated, her mind racing for a response. "He's a botanist. He studies plants. He doesn't mean harm." "Humans never mean harm, but harm follows them," Rezak said bitterly. "They come with smiles, then take what they want." Zarella stepped back, her voice growing more resolute. "Liam isn't like that. He's kind. He listens." Rezak's expression darkened. "If you think you can trust him, you're a fool. Your soft heart has always been your weakness." His words cut deep, but Zarella stood firm. "You don't understand him. And you don't understand what you're doing," Rezak snapped. "You're making it worse for yourself. If you keep meeting him, there will be consequences." With that, the patrol turned and left, leaving Zarella standing alone, her heart pounding. When she returned to the tree the next day, Liam was already waiting. She quickly told him about the patrol and their warning. "They think I'm weak for being with you," she said, her voice trembling. "They think I'm—" "Stop," Liam said gently. "You're not weak. You've never been weak." Zarella blinked at him, surprised by the conviction in his voice. "Strength isn't about being cold or cruel," Liam continued. "You left a life that hurt you. You found a way to survive here, alone. That takes strength, and standing up to those patrols. That's strength, too." Her chest felt tight, a mix of fear and warmth. But what if they come back? What if they try to? She didn't finish the thought. Liam placed a hand over his chest, a gesture of sincerity. "I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here. We'll figure this out together." For a moment, Zarella felt steady again. Liam's presence, his calm assurance, gave her something she hadn't felt in years: hope. But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. The patrol would return. The forest would no longer be a hidden refuge. And their connection, as beautiful as it was, would soon be tested like never before. It was just past sunrise when Zarella heard the voices. She had been gathering the Ilsha flowers near her home in the forest, trying to calm her thoughts. The flowers always brought a sense of peace, their soft glow reminding her of safety. But now that peace was shattered, the voices were not from Liam. They were harsh, loud, and commanding. The patrol had returned. She pressed herself against a wide tree trunk, hoping to stay out of sight. The patrol wasn't here just to watch her this time. She could hear their words clearly through the thick forest air. "Spread out," one said. "Find the human." "He's been coming here every day," said another. "He won't be far." Zarella's heart sank. They weren't just warning her anymore. They were hunting Liam. For the first time in her life, she felt something sharp and unfamiliar rising inside her. It wasn't fear. It was anger. Liam, meanwhile, was walking towards their usual meeting spot. He had no idea the patrol was so close. As he rounded a cluster of massive tree roots, he stopped abruptly. A tall, dark figure stood in his path. It wasn't Zarella. It was Rezek. "You should not be here, human," Rezek said, his voice as cold as the forest shadows. Liam didn't move. He knew he wasn't in danger of being harmed physically. This planet's laws forbade it. But he could see the contempt in Rezek's sharp eyes, and he knew the situation was serious. "I'm just studying plants," Liam replied, keeping his tone calm. "I'm not causing trouble." "Your presence is trouble," Rezek snapped. "You're making Zarella weaker." Liam frowned. "I think you're wrong about that. She's strong." Rezek stepped closer, towering over him. "She was an outcast before. Now she's a disgrace. No one respects her because of you. Maybe your people need to change what they think respect means," Liam said quietly. His heart was pounding, but he didn't let his voice waver. Rezek's expression hardened. "Leave, or you will regret staying." Liam opened his mouth to respond, but another voice cut through the tense air. "Enough." Both men turned. Zarella stood a few paces away, her hands clenched at her sides. She looked smaller next to Rezek, but her voice carried strength neither had heard before. "Leave him alone," she said firmly. Rezek's sharp eyes narrowed. "You dare." "I dare," Zarella interrupted, stepping closer. "Liam hasn't done anything wrong. If anyone here is causing harm, it's you." Rezek blinked, momentarily thrown off by her defiance. "Zarella." "No," she said, her voice rising. "You always told me I was weak, that I was wrong for looking different, for feeling different. But now I see that you're the one who's afraid. Afraid of change. Afraid of anyone who doesn't fit your narrow idea of what's right." Rezek's mouth opened, but no words came out. "And you know what?" Zarella continued. "I'm not weak. I'm not wrong. I'm just different. And Liam sees that. He sees what you never could. That makes me stronger than you'll ever be." For the first time, Rezek looked uncertain. He glanced at Liam, who stood quietly, letting Zarella's words do the work. When the patrol finally retreated, Zarella and Liam were left alone. The forest felt still again, the tension in the air lifting like a heavy fog. Zarella looked at Liam, her chest rising and falling as she caught her breath. "You didn't have to do that," Liam said gently. "You put yourself at risk." She shook her head. "They needed to hear it. I needed to say it." Liam stepped closer, his voice soft. "You were amazing." Zarella managed a small, tired smile. "I'm just tired of hiding. Tired of feeling less. If standing up for you means standing up for myself, then it's worth it." Liam reached out a hand, hesitating before letting it rest lightly on her shoulder. "You're not less. Never have been. I'm lucky to know you." For the first time in years, Zarella felt something that had once been foreign. Pride. She wasn't just an outcast anymore. She was someone who had spoken her truth, even if it wasn't easy. And in that moment, she felt stronger than ever. Zarella returned to the forest the next morning. After the confrontation with Rezvek, she felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. She had stood up for herself, for her friendship with Liam, but now she wondered what the consequences would be. The patrol would surely report back to their leaders. Would she be punished? Would Liam be forced to leave? These thoughts circled in her mind as she reached the large tree where she and Liam usually met. She didn't see him yet, so she sat on one of the massive roots and looked at the Ilsha flowers in her hands. Their glow was softer today, as if reflecting her uncertainty. Suddenly, she heard the sound of branches snapping. Zyrella turned sharply. It wasn't Liam. The footsteps were heavier, more deliberate. Two figures stepped into the clearing. They were part of the patrol, though Rezvek wasn't with them. One of the men, taller and broader than the other, carried a strange device that looked like a metallic rod. The other had a scanner in his hand, its screen glowing faintly. "Zyrella," the taller one said in a cold voice, "we're here to take you back." Zyrella rose slowly, holding the flowers tightly. "Why?" "Your actions have disgraced our people," the smaller one said. "You've been associating with a human. Our leaders have decided you need to be brought in for questioning." Zyrella's chest tightened. She had expected something like this, but now that it was happening, fear crept in. "I haven't done anything wrong," she said, her voice steady but low. "Liam isn't a threat." The taller one sneered. "You don't get to decide that. Come quietly, or we'll use this." He held up the metallic rod, and the end began to hum softly. Zyrella's hands trembled. She didn't want to go with them. She didn't want to be taken back to a place where she would be mocked, judged, and punished. She glanced around, searching for any way out. Her gaze fell on the Ilsha flowers in her hands. A thought came to her, unbidden but clear. The flowers only bloomed where the forest felt safe. They reacted to the energy around them, to the emotions of the beings who passed through. If the forest responded to peace, perhaps it could also respond to something more. Zyrella closed her eyes. She didn't know why she thought it might work, but she had nothing else to try. She held the flowers close and focused on a single idea: protect. The air around her seemed to shift. A faint hum, almost like a low song, began to rise from the ground. The patrolmen paused, their faces changing from arrogance to confusion. The taller one lowered the rod slightly. "What's that sound?" the smaller one asked, his voice uncertain. Zyrella didn't open her eyes. She focused harder, thinking of the calm the Ilsha flowers brought, the trust the forest seemed to place in her. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the roots of the trees and into the air. The Ilsha flowers in her hands glowed brighter, their blue light expanding outward. The taller patrolman stepped back, his grip on the rod tightening. "What is she doing?" Zyrella finally opened her eyes. The clearing around her was bathed in a soft blue glow. The patrolmen looked nervous now, their earlier confidence replaced by caution. "Leave," she said, her voice quiet but firm. The smaller one glanced at his partner. "Maybe we should." "No," the taller one growled, though he didn't move forward. "It's just light." "It doesn't." The hum suddenly became a pulse. A gentle but undeniable wave of energy pushed outward from Zyrella. The patrolmen staggered back, dropping their devices. The metallic rod fell to the ground with a dull thud. They didn't fall, but they looked stunned, as if the air itself had pushed them away. Zyrella's breathing was steady now. The fear she had felt earlier was gone. She didn't know exactly how she had done it, but she knew one thing: the forest was on her side. The taller patrolman clenched his jaw. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You'll regret this." The two turned and retreated, their steps hurried and uneven. Zyrella watched them go. When she was sure they were gone, she let out a long, slow breath. The glow around her faded, and the hum died down until the clearing was quiet again. She sat back on the root, her heart finally slowing. The Ilsha flowers in her hands were still bright, as if they had helped her in their own way. When Liam arrived a few minutes later, he immediately noticed the tension in her posture. What happened? Zarella looked up at him, her voice calm but steady. They tried to take me, but I stopped them. Liam frowned. How? She held up the flowers. I think the forest helped me. He studied her face, seeing the new strength there. Zarella, that's incredible. Are you okay? She nodded. Yes, but I think things are going to change now. After the patrol left, Zarella sat quietly under the tree. The forest around her was still, almost as if it, too, was catching its breath. The Ilsha flowers in her hands had dimmed slightly, their glow steady and calm. Liam sat beside her, his expression full of concern and curiosity. What you did back there, Liam said gently. It was incredible. I've never seen anything like it. Zarella glanced at the flowers, then back at him. I didn't know I could do it. I think the forest responded to my feelings. It's like it understood I needed protection. Liam nodded slowly, his mind racing. Do you think it's something all of your people can do, or is it something unique to you? She shrugged, the tension in her shoulders easing. I don't know. I never felt it before. Maybe it's because I've spent so much time here, away from the others. The forest and I, we've grown close. Liam smiled. You're full of surprises, you know that. Zarella felt a warmth rise in her chest, not from embarrassment, but from a quiet sense of pride. She had spent her whole life believing she was less than others, that her softness made her weak. But now, sitting here with Liam, knowing she had stood her ground and discovered something special within herself, she felt a strength she hadn't known before. Thank you, she said softly, for believing in me. Liam shook his head. You don't have to thank me. You're the one who stood up to them. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I just got to see you prove how strong you really are. For the next few days, the forest remained quiet. The patrol didn't return, but Zarella and Liam knew it was only a matter of time before someone else came looking. They decided to spend their time carefully, continuing to meet but staying alert. Liam brought more tools, more music, and more stories from Earth. Zarella shared songs from her people, soft, melodic tunes that she once sang only to herself. Each day, Zarella's confidence grew. She found herself smiling more, speaking more freely. Liam's presence reminded her that not all beings saw her as lesser. To him, she wasn't weak or strange. She was unique, valuable, and most importantly, beautiful. One afternoon, as they sat together near the tree, Liam pulled out a small device from his bag. It was a portable holo display. He set it on the ground, and a bright image appeared in the air. It showed a field of flowers under a clear blue sky. This is from Earth, Liam said. It's called a meadow. It's one of my favorite places back home. Zarella leaned forward, her eyes wide. It's so open. And the flowers, they're everywhere. Liam smiled. Yeah, they grow wild. No one tells them where to grow or what colors to be. They just exist the way they want. Zarella reached out a hand, as if she could touch the image. It's beautiful. Liam looked at her, his expression soft. You remind me of those flowers, growing the way you're meant to, no matter what anyone else says. She turned to him, her voice quiet. You really think so? I know so, he said firmly. As their connection deepened, Zarella started to think about her future. For so long, she had accepted the idea that she didn't belong anywhere. But now, she began to wonder, could she find a place where she was truly accepted? I don't want to go back to my town, she said one evening. They'll never see me as anything but a mistake. Liam nodded. Then don't go back. You can come with me. Zarella blinked, surprised. With you? To Earth? Liam smiled. Maybe someday. But first, there are other places I visit. Planets where people don't care about how you look, only about who you are. Zarella felt a small spark of hope. You think they'd accept me? They'd be lucky to have you, Liam said. For the first time, Zarella allowed herself to imagine a life outside the forest. A life where she wasn't constantly judged or ridiculed. A life where her softness, her gentleness, was seen as strength. The forest around them seemed to glow softly as they sat together, a quiet energy passing between them. Zarella felt the Ilsha flowers hum faintly in her hands, their light steady and warm. "Liam," she said after a long silence, "you've shown me something I never thought I'd see." "What's that?" he asked. "A new definition of beauty," she said softly. "Not the one my people taught me. A real one." Liam's smile widened. "I'm glad, because I see that beauty in you every day." Zarella looked out at the trees, at the soft light filtering through the leaves. She took a deep breath and let the warmth of Liam's words settle in her heart. She wasn't just a rejected outcast anymore. She was someone who had found her voice, her strength, and her worth. And she wasn't going to let anyone take that away.